boxing brain. You need to be around fighters as a boxer. Footballers need to be around footballers. Boxing need to be around boxers. Lions stay around lions. Lions don't hang around with sheep, do they? You know what I mean? So, huh?
No, not at all.
Yeah, so like, good boxers need to stay around better boxers in order to get better. So I'd definitely have him. I'd have George Foreman, Holyfield, Gibran. Who's alive from the old school? Like Hearns, Leonard. Who's even from the older school then?
What's good, family? So mash the like button and subscribe. So we just heard there from my dog Anthony, the booty buster, Joshua. And obviously this right here was some exclusive footage filmed by Pep Talk UK. Obviously them man doing their bits out there. Hold tight, Steely. Anywho, like I just said, we heard there from the Mr. Cheekbuster. And obviously the YB's Dons probably know where I'm probably know what I'm thinking already. But if you don't, I'm gonna educate you either way. AJ says lions need to stay around lions, not sheep. You need to be around KILLEAS. That's what you need to be doing. And who been saying? Never mind AJ. Who been saying that the most out of everyone in the game? Out of everyone on this YouTube thing, who been saying that the most? Because there ain't been no one else. Everyone else been saying, yeah, McCracken's the best thing, and this, that, the other. And to be honest, this ain't even really about McCracken. I'm getting to the point now where we have to be serious. We have to realise that McCracken's only doing what AJ allows, if that makes sense. If AJ decided to bring a whole bag of man in, or some certain man in, specific man in, that'd happen. And on that basis, AJ says himself, he's vocalising. Boxers need to be around boxers. Killers need to be around killers. Oh, damn. I dropped that word, didn't I? Damn. Hopefully I'll cut it out. Anyway, that's what he said. Now, I'm thinking to myself, alright, more time. What KILLERS is AJ around then? Skins? AKA Skins. Come on. AKA Skins. The only thing he be killing is AJ's leftovers. And that's in the females. And we know females make your legs weak. That's the only thing Skins be doing. Skins be doing the most with AJ's leftover females. 100% confirmed. No doubt. But apart from that, what Skins be doing? Skins don't be doing nothing. Too busy in the eyebrows. Yeah? I ain't being funny here. Obviously, people's man are their man. But there's levels to this game. And if your man are doing their eyebrows, they ain't trying to get busy, are they? Let's be real now. Too busy getting their eyebrows done and this done and that done. You ain't getting busy. Because people getting busy, they ain't doing eyebrows. That's what we do know. Yeah? And I'm not knocking it, each to their own. I'm just saying there's a disconnect. AJ's vocalising you need to be around certain man. Where are them certain man in AJ's camp? Genuinely speaking, where are they? I don't see even one. Never mind, AJ said you need to be around a whole bag of them, and I agree. In fact, no. And when I say a bag of man, I don't mean just grubby roadman. I mean specific boxing heads who get it. That's what you need to be around, and that's what AJ said. It's not enough just to be a roadman, just to be a dirty, grubby roadman. I'm talking about specific boxing. People who understand theoretically speaking, the kind of people I'm thinking about, not to name them, but what I call a roadman in boxing, what a boxing roadman is, what a boxing gully man is someone who understands and appreciates and thrives in the viciousness of boxing. Someone who, not people who want to get in there and just win a fight. I'm talking about people who strategize and get, what's the word? They get inspired. That's not strong enough. They get rock hard, basically. The lipstick comes out when they think of boxing, or when they think of a certain type of boxing. People who want to see devastating KOs. For example, Mike Tyson's old trainer, Cus D'Amato. He'd talk about being totally ferocious and trained in a way. Now, Mike Tyson, he wasn't trained just to go in there and Nigel Bennett up, just go in there and swing left and right. No, Mike Tyson was trained. Cus D'Amato clearly built a system which was, yes, you're going to be 10 out of 10 ferocious, but also your defense. And that's what's missing today in boxing. Boxing trainers at best are one-dimensional. There'll be Ben Davidson, completely defense, no offense. Or there'll be some other trainer where they run forward and get smoked. Chris Eubank style. There's very few trainers who can do the best of both. 10 out of 10 defense and 10 out of 10 offense. That's what Cus D'Amato clearly built. Mike Tyson was 10 out of 10 offense, 10 out of 10 defense. In his prime. Couldn't touch him. No one could touch him. Where are them cats today? Shane McGuigan. Most people, for example, many trainers would have taken Lawrence Okoli and said, you know what, Lawrence, you're 6'6" or whatever it is, you're 6'6" and long. Ben Davidson would have took Lawrence Okoli and said, Lawrence, you're 6'6" and long. Let's just keep, we don't care about the fans. We don't care about the actual performance. We don't get rock hard over the viciousness of the sport. We just want to win. Ben Davidson, Rob McCracken, would have taken Okoli and kept him doing what he's doing. Just keep jabbing, and they would have said to him, they would have justified it, saying, well, you're winning. And that's what AJ fans do now. They say, why are you criticising? He's winning belts. McCracken's winning belts. Ben Davidson, Fury won the fight against Wilder, they say. That's what everyone was arguing. Everyone was arguing for Ben Davidson and McCracken. YB, AJ's got 3 belts. YB, Fury beat Wilder, or whatever you want to say. That's what everyone was saying. And that's that mentality of, well, you're winning and it's enough. No, winning isn't enough. For some fighters it is, don't get me wrong. For some fighters, just getting dub is all they can do. That's their ability. But other fighters, clearly Okoli, AJ, they've transcended winning, in my opinion. That's what I think of them anyway, as men. They're above winning in this division today. It's about how you win. And again, trainers like McGuigan. He took Okoli. 90% of UK trainers, in fact, 90% of all trainers in the world, 99% of all trainers in the world would say, you're long, you're lanky, let's just keep doing what we're doing. Keep winning. As boring as you like. Shane, that don't turn Shane on. Shane sees the best in people. Look at Groves. Groves was finished. He revived him. Literally turned people around. Okoli in there, throwing uppercuts and hooks in the first round. Putting combinations together. My man hasn't thrown a combination for years. Haven't seen him throw a combination for years. He's in there in the first round, of his first step up, his first world championship. If there's ever a time you're going to be defensive and you're going to be being safety first and grabbing and clinching, it would have been that fight. But Shane McGuigan's premium. Okoli's thriving so much under McGuigan. He's in there doing things he wasn't doing in 12 rounds. In the first round. You understand? Okoli's been in easier fights with much less pressure and hasn't been as free and open and aggressive as he was in that World Championship fight. Who's responsible for that? Of course, Okoli's put the work in, but there's a magician behind the scenes, McGuigan. He appreciates, you can see it in his fighters. He's never just doing the bare bones just to win. Yes, we're going to win, but we're going to do it to the best of our ability. That Okoli performance was the best of his ability, or more or less. Yes, we can always pick and prod, but in the main, picture perfect. Picture perfect. Caught him with a one bang in the end, but the whole fight was picture perfect. Didn't lose a minute of a round. And then won in devastating fashion at the end. Perfectly paced. Now they've got that base, they can keep improving, and hopefully them KOs will start coming earlier and earlier. That's what McGuigan and Okoli can aim for now. They should be aiming, you know what? And I think Okoli even said that. He wanted it in the 4th round. And that's the thinking people should have. These elite athletes, in my opinion, that's the KILLER mindset. Round 10 with Pulev, no. We're doing this done in round 2 or 3. That's the mindset of it. That's what I was telling you, man. To AJ, Pulev is a 3-round fighter. That's where we start. And if it ends up going 5 or 6, whatever. But we're aiming for 2 or 3. I guarantee you go and ask McCracken what his goal was for the Pulev fight. Yeah, well, we're just going to take, it's just boxing and I'm not going to put a number on it. Let's just see. You know what McCracken's like. Oh, we're not going to put a number on it. We're just going to go in there and go for the flow. Well, that's what it looked like as well. That's what going through the flow does to you. No targets, no no purpose, just going in there and going for the flow. That's McCracken for you. Go for the flow. Nice and easy, nice and easy. Not nice and easy. You've got a fighting machine. You don't treat fighting machines nice and easy. Nice and easy is people who ain't no good. And it's that kind of amateur approach. Amateurs, no one ain't not trying to knock no one out. In amateurs, no one is trying to knock anyone out. So you got that, yeah, we'll just get points. It's only 3 rounds, just win points, win 3 rounds. It doesn't translate well. And there's certain people, trainers and otherwise, support staff or whoever, they get it. And unfortunately, the people around AJ, they ain't getting it. Name me one then. I don't understand how is AJ vocalising this, but when you look at his team, name me one Donya who's really on it. Name me one. Go on. I don't know any of them. He's saying, yeah, well, you need to get these old timers and boxers need to be around boxers and... Where are these men then around you? I don't see any of them. And I'm not saying you build a big hype camp where people are gassing your head up. And that's why I wanted to define what I mean by a boxing roadman. I'm not talking about them idiots who Mike Tyson had at the end of his career, or them idiots who... What's the man who fought Nigel Benn and he got a brain problem? That man had some idiot guys around him, just pure yes men chanting in his corner. They're not road, they're just idiots. I'm talking about people who they've got this very high level training skill level, and also they have a vicious mindset. You've got to have both in there. You can't have being just a great trainer isn't enough either. You've got to have this. You've got to revel. You've got to revel in doing things that other people can't do. And training your fighters to do things other fighters don't dare to do. And get your fighter to do it in a way that he wants to do it and he believes in it himself. Pushing the barriers of their capability. I don't see AJ pushing the barriers of his capability. Doing 8 rounds against Pulev and nothing happening. Was AJ pushing the envelope with that performance? And some of you man think he was, so fair play to you. I don't believe he was. I don't believe 8 rounds of nothing against Pulev was pushing AJ's the boundary of his possibility. Okoli, on the other hand, yes, I mean, there's always room to improve, but really, picture perfect. All I'd argue with Okoli is similar to Canelo Alvarez. Get on the gas earlier now. Let's start getting these first half finishes ramping up. So yeah. You've heard AJ say the words, but I'm just questioning, and maybe some of you man, I'm not some historian Don, maybe some of you man can educate me. Who is round AJ then that I'm missing? Because he's saying the right thing, but maybe he's perceiving different things. Maybe he looks at McCracken, yeah, and thinks, oh well, yeah, I've got his one, that's one on my team. I've got his serious. He's really about it. He's really, you know what I'm saying? Maybe McCracken to AJ is like Customato. I'm sorry, there's levels to this game. And I haven't seen McCracken bring something to AJ's game. AJ really, show me the game, show me the changing game over time where you can say, YB, look at how McCracken's rubbing off on AJ. And it's the thing, McCracken's been with AJ for 10 years, and there's very little difference. My man, Shane McGuigan, he touched you for 6 months. You opposite end of the spectrum. That's what great trainers do. They take something that's whatever it is, and you see night and day changes in one camp. You don't. We're sitting here 10 years later with McCracken, or AJ's current team, 10 years later, and we're all scratching our head, really, if you're honest, yeah. And even if you think AJ is making improvements, if you're honest, the improvements you look at shouldn't have taken 10 years. You have to agree on that. Show me what's really changed over the last 5 years, for example. Over the last 5 years, name me a point where you can say, look, YB, because 5 years is a lot of time. We saw how much can be done in 1 or 2 camps with Okoli. So in 5 years, with someone the ability and the genetics of AJ, I'm expecting, do you know what I'm saying? I'm expecting something special here. I mean, even look at Canelo. Canelo, yeah. He's a similar level fighter as AJ, but look how he's improved over time. And even he was arguably at a higher level, having had more amateur fights and whatnot. AJ has only had like 40 fights in his whole career. So really, when you've only had a few fights, the gains you make are leaps and bounds. AJ should be leaping and bounding ahead, given his limitations. It's not like AJ's a finished product, and you're saying, well, YB, the reason we don't see the big leaps, you can't blame McCracken. It's because McCracken did such a good job. AJ just can't get any better now. There's still, I'd love to see AJ in there, maybe trying a shoulder roll, for example, defensively speaking. I'd love to see AJ in there, yeah, in the pocket, someone giving him smoke and him just bouncing shots off his shoulder and coming back and whatnot. Why not? It's not like you saying, well, YB, you know, AJ's not really an athlete and he's gonna. These are the things he should be in there experimenting with and learning and thriving on. In there being defensively smart and countering in the pocket, not stepping out of range and dancing around against Pulev. Look, that's the most basic defense. Disengaging and stepping around. That's all McCracken's really brought, is to disengage, which is the devolution, I'm afraid to break it to you, man. AJ with Tony Sims was in there, not stepping off. Stepping off is that's the last. When a fighter steps off, that's the last thing you do when you're out of options. If you're tired, if you're under pressure, the last thing you taught to do, well, good offensive fighters like AJ, the last thing you should be taught to do is step off. Really, you're in there, you tuck up, or whatever, you pivot and I don't know, be creative with it. You don't need to keep, like, currently in the Pulev fight, AJ's number one go-to defensively is step off, is disengage. It's not even like. Again, if you're in trouble, fair enough, step off. But if you're not, to keep giving up ground, to keep giving up the centre of the ring and backing off, and disengaging, what for? That should be a last for someone as dominant as AJ. That should be the last thing on your mind. You should be looking to stay in there. Defend, counter, catch, counter. These are the things AJ was doing. The evidence is there. I'm still forgetting to show you, man, but I am going to get there eventually. He was doing all these things 5 years ago. In 5 years, in the Pulev fight, there wasn't one time AJ stayed in the pocket, literally. He didn't engage on the inside once. Watch it yourself. You won't see one time AJ holds his feet, defends a shot and comes back with another one, and just holds his feet. Every time he'd land a jab and disengage. You never saw him really just in there, looking to work, as he used to do. So McCracken's legacy has been, I've taken a really an aggressive and thriving fighter who, yes, was AJ's defense perfect? No, but these are the things, again, over the last 5 years, should have been improved on. Yes, AJ was offensive and his defense could be tighter and whatnot, but that was 5 years ago we were at that stage. 5 years of improvement from that point, he'd be doing things like in there, relying on his shoulder roll or whatever, relying on higher level defensive and countering maneuvers. McCracken hasn't honed any of them. He hasn't enabled AJ to thrive in them environments at all. Instead, it's become, alright, well, if you need to defend, just disengage and dance. Which is exactly what us man used to laugh at with the Fury thing. That's what Fury does. Fury just slaps a jab in and then dances around for 6 minutes. And yes, AJ will still get stoppages because that's how great he is. He doesn't need to. He's got so much power. People, and that's the thing, AJ fans overlook that and they think, oh well, YB still finished Pulev. But you're not understanding that that's how great he is. He didn't even need to work Pulev to stop him. Just because he didn't have to work doesn't mean he shouldn't have done. Does that make sense? I'm saying if AJ had gone to work, it wouldn't have lasted 2-3 rounds. The fact he didn't choose to do that meant he went 10 rounds. Which again, he won, but he'd win both versions. I'm just saying, like, what do you want your legacy to be? Do you want your legacy to be you were the most ferocious champion ever lived? It's possible if he wants it. It depends how he wants to go out. That's what I'm saying. It's who you want to be. It's the reason Mike Tyson is revered the way he is. And AJ was initially, coming up in his career, that's how people viewed him. Like the next Mike Tyson kind of thing. And now, the last few fights, that's not what it is. So it's a lot more. And people say, oh, well, it's maturing. Yeah, no, I don't see that as maturing. I see maturing as you're in there and you're doing higher level skills, whatever they may be. Disengaging every time against an old man who hasn't got no inside fighting game, Pulev. That, for me, at least, isn't high level. And it frustrates me because he's got all this ability. Too much. And I was feeling, I don't know, man, maybe it's AJ himself, he seems to think that his team's on it like that. AJ himself seems to think his team's on it. Clearly. Where are they then? You, man, please name me the man AJ's referring to. Which ones are they then? Because I don't know, man. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. His name, and this is the thing, like, he even exposes it himself. He names all these KILLERs, but then not one of them is actually in his team. Does that make sense? For example, AJ said, boxers need to be around boxers. Roadman need to be around roadman. This, that, the other. For example, and then reeled off a whole load of people, none of them are around him. In reality, AJ should have said, AJ and his team should be in a position where he's able to say the following. Yeah, boxers need to be around boxers. Like, gully man need to be around gully man. For example, in my camp, I've got A, B, C, D. Do you understand? That's what should have happened in that conversation. Yeah, I recognise. Like, I'm talking about what AJ should be saying. AJ should be saying, yeah, I recognise. Of course, boxers need to be around boxers. For example, I've got this dude in my camp. I've got that dude in my camp. He ain't saying that because he ain't. He can't say that. So I don't understand. How is he recognising he needs these influences, but yet don't have none? When is he going to reach out? Because if you ain't reaching out now, when are you going to reach out? And that's why I told you, man, I do rate Fury. Because Fury, it takes a special man to recognise something's wrong. Fury recognised something was wrong. He weren't feeling right. He made the change. I respect that. I told you, man, before, but I respect people on an action-by-action basis. You can do one thing wrong, you do a different thing right. I'm not going to hold it against you. Fury, for whatever he's done wrong, I give him credit for that. Because very few people are able to actually take responsibility and say, you know what, I need to... It's easy to stay where you are. That's the easy thing to do. Oh, I'm just going to keep chugging along. Fury identified an issue and look how he came back. His best ever performance. Another example of another example of a potentially great trainer. You take a fighter and you make them exponentially better. Night and day. Fury was night and day. Fury went from useless with Ben Davidson to in there, completely different type of fighter. And that's the bottom line. So hats off to Fury for doing that. But with AJ, I don't know. The way I see it is, it's almost like he's got... What's that syndrome? What's that syndrome when someone's kidnapped and they don't realise it? I forgot what it's called, but it's almost like that to me. It's almost like AJ don't realise. He's saying he needs all these things. Oh yeah, boxers need to be around boxers. He's saying that, but it's almost like he believes that's what he's with. He believes McCracken is that. He believes his team is this real ferocious team. I mean, just look at your performances. What was ferocious about the Ruiz performance? After he took, even though you weren't right, regardless of that. In fact, even more so. AJ himself acknowledged I wasn't even right in the first fight. So I'd say to AJ, you're right, you weren't right in the first fight. So, what are we going to do in the rematch then? Are we going to let this Don just think he's whatever? Or are we going to say, listen, I wasn't right in the first fight, and therefore, you're getting it. Yeah? You did me wrong, I'm going to do you wronger. The mentality of that Ruiz rematch should have been, he did me in 7, he getting done in 5. That's what the mentality should have been. If the YB was in the camp, we're doing it in 5. And if it ends up being 8 or 9, or even if it goes a distance, fair play, whatever. But it's that the team don't have that. Clearly they don't, because it was round 10, and not one point in that Pulev fight did McCracken say, get in there and get this Don out of there. We've seen all the other greats do it. I've seen Teddy Atlas sitting there with Mike saying, "Get this man out of there." I've seen Klitschko's old trainer Manny Stewart do the same. Get him out of there. I've seen McGuigan was in there with Okolie telling him now's he's ready to go in round 6. In round 6, he told him he's ready to go. Okolie himself didn't even believe it. He said, "Oh, I'm not too sure about that." But Okolie said, "I didn't even believe it, but my faith and my trust in McGuigan just made me throw the shot." And that's what Mike Tyson said. Mike Tyson said, "Listen, if Cus D'Amato got me to such a point, I had so much belief in him, so much trust, if he told me to bite, I'd bite." And that's what you got to have with these trainers, this relationship. And Okolie said it. I didn't think he was ready. McGuigan said he was, and boom. That's how the magic happens. AJ and Pulev, McCracken's happy just to sit there and drag it out for 12 rounds. That's what he wanted. You won't never see McCracken say, "Put your foot down now." Never. And that's nothing wrong about him. I'm just calling a spade a spade. It is what it is. Different is amateur trainers and professional trainers and everything in between. Then you've got all-time great GOAT level trainers. McCracken is an amateur trainer. Simple as that. And the fact that McCracken don't see it, and clearly AJ got this, he trapped. He can't see what's in front of him. He thinks it's all good and merry, it seems. He thinks he's got one of them, he thinks in McCracken he's got one of them killers. Clearly. He thinks "Oh yeah, I'm nice. I've got this real ferocious camp around me." I just find it's baffling in my mind. I can't believe what I'm hearing. AJ, statistically speaking, has one of the most passive camps in history. I can't name one. Genuinely. He even brought in them 2 new trainers. And I don't know what they've brought, do you? You brought 2 new trainers in, and I can't tell you what they've brought apart from disengaging and stepping off. I'll give him that. Okay, I'll give him that. AJ's learnt to step off. They teach you that the first defensive move you learn in boxing is to step off and dance round. I don't know who don't do that. And in fact, that there really is a human emotion. If someone comes close to you, yeah, human emotion will be, you know what, I need to move out of the way. So like I said, that's the first defensive move they teach you in boxing, step off, pivot round. You don't get any more basic than that. So really, I'm struggling to find. You've got 3 trainers, and what have any of them brought? It's been 2 years now, by the way. Shane McGuigan is one man, and he can show you in 3 months what he can do, night and day. Okolie, even in the other fight, night and day. AJ got 3 trainers 2 years later, and no one can tell me what positive has been added.